Good morning. Sorry if I scared you. Hello. Happy Sunday. It's good to be here with you, and thank you for coming to our forum in which we are listening to stories from the Camino de Santiago. So you'll see that we have some of our pilgrims moving about the room right now. You don't have to be worried. They're not going to whisk you off to Spain, although you might want to. They're passing out a handout that has the Pilgrim's Beatitudes on one side and a prayer on the other side. We have about 50, so you may have to share a little bit. And so as is our custom in these spaces, we usually begin with a prayer. So as our sweet friends are getting seated and settled, I invite you to say the prayer, if you can see it on the back of your page. If not, just let these words wash over you. I'll say it in the microphone. It's the Pilgrim Prayer. Guardian of my soul, guide me on my way this day. Keep me safe from harm. Deepen my relationship with you, your earth, and all your family. Strengthen your love within me, that I may be a presence of your peace in our world. Amen. All right, so our model today is to mainly hear from our young people, because the parish was beautiful in offering generous support to help these young people and 5 adults go to Spain on what I think was a life-changing experience for me. Taylor and I both survived, and we're both really grateful. And we didn't lose any of our 20 teenagers. And some of those folks have gone on to college. And if you're watching us on the live stream, our friends in college, we miss you and hope you are well. And so I'm going to turn it over. Do you want to speak, or you may just turn it straight over? Okay. So I'm going to invite our first speaker up. Our model is that we have the 10 Beatitudes of a pilgrim. And so we have 10 of our pilgrims who will speak to those Beatitudes and offer a reflection about what that Beatitude means to them and their journey on the Camino. And then after that, we'll have some space for questions. And we're so glad that you are here. All right, Watts, you ready?
Hello, my name is Watts, and our first beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, if you discover that the Camino opens your eyes to what is not seen." On the Camino, I learned many things about myself and my life. One thing that my friends and I did while walking that I think is very important is that whenever we would find ourselves looking down at the path to make sure we knew where we were going, we would often forget to look up at the beauty around us. In attempts to solve this issue, we would constantly be telling each other to look up. One specific time that I had a look up moment was on the 3rd day, right as we had just climbed to get to the highest point of the day. Everyone's soreness and fatigue was kicking in, and we had been resting up at the top with a beautiful view of the hills. And I looked around for a minute, but I just wanted to keep moving while my legs were still energized. Taylor then recommended, more like forced, that we go back a little bit on the trail to go and see some Celtic ruins up as high as you could possibly go on the hill. As you probably have guessed, Taylor was right. The ruins were really cool, and the view was somehow even better up there. I feel like this is a perfect example of a moment where I would have previously overlooked the beauty of God, but through looking up, I found myself truly feeling the beauty of an experience that I would have hated to miss out on. I feel like this can be related to our lives back in Birmingham today, and that we often get so caught up with our daily lives that we forget to look up and notice the beauty around us. So when you find yourself focusing too much on where you're going, looking at the road in front of you, take a minute to stop and look around at the beauty of the little things and be present in the moment.
My name is Charlie, and the second beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, if what concerns you most is not to arrive, as to arrive with others." Walking the Camino taught me a lot about community. Before embarking on the Camino, I never thought about how much of a community it really was. I was surprised when a sense of community appeared around us when we walked alongside some teenagers our age from Spain. We did not speak the same language, but at the time we were listening to music and asked if they wanted to play a song on our speaker. One of the girls picked the Macarena, and we all danced around and sang together. This was definitely my favorite part of the Camino. Though we didn't speak the same language, we were able to build a community, and it was a really special part of the Camino. I found that moments of my greatest joy were not when I was pushing forward alone on the long hot summer days, but when I was sharing stories with friends, laughing, and doing the Macarena with teenagers from Spain, and even when I was walking in silence with others around me. I made friendships I never expected, some with fellow pilgrims who did not speak the same language as me, and others with strangers who exchanged a simple "Buen Camino" along the way.
I'm Michael McGovern. I'm a last-minute sub here, so you get the third beatitude from me. Blessed are you, pilgrim, when you contemplate the Camino, and you discover it is full of names and dawns. When I got this on Friday, I started thinking about what did names mean to us on the Camino, and it's a lot, because I think a name says a lot about a person. It's an important part of who you are. We first got kind of introduced to this trip almost a year ago, and Christine and I were asked to do it, and maybe 6 months before the trip, we got a list of names. And we looked at this list of names, we're like, oh, we know a lot of these people. You know, a lot of the kids we had, previous relationships, but some of them we really didn't. As the months leading up to the trip, we got to meet them. We got to, become, more of a Camino family. And then it really kind of all gelled together once we got on the plane, got off, hit the trail. And, the names they were people. They were, part of our family. And, an amazing part about the Camino is it's not just about, your walk. The walk is a big deal. But it's about the people you meet and the names that are attached to it. On day one, we stopped for lunch, and Bennett's wearing an Auburn t-shirt, and a person comes up to us and says, War Eagle. And we're like, oh my gosh, here we are in this tiny little town in the middle of Spain. And they introduced themselves, and we introduced them, and it was Jim and Ginger. And Jim had gone to Auburn, and they lived in South Florida at the time, but every day we kind of ran into them along a different step of the way. And they became kind of part of our extended Camino family. And at the very last day, when we're in the square in front of the cathedral, there were Jim and Ginger again. And so it's a really neat experience. One last thing, when we were in the cathedral, we had the opportunity to go to Mass. And I didn't really think about it beforehand. Mass was all in Spanish. There was a lot lost in translation, you might say. And, you tend to kind of doze off. Literally in some cases. But as we were listening to Mass and, really focusing in on it, we got snapped to attention a couple of times, or at least I did. At one point, Taylor had made arrangements for them to recognize the pilgrims from St. Stephen's. And when St. Stephen's comes across the mic, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, it's real. These people are recognizing us. And there was another opportunity later in the Mass where Taylor also had recognized two of his really good friends, Mary Allison Turner and Henry, were getting married the day that we were in the cathedral. And the priest that day had the opportunity to actually say the Mass in their honor. And so we hear the names Mary Allison Turner and Henry over, and that was the only words that we caught out of that whole service. So it was a really big deal. The second part of my beatitude was that the Camino is more about it's also about dawns. Well, we had a group of 20 teenagers. We didn't see a lot of dawns, I'll be honest. We had a lot of late nights, but the days were usually a little bit later starts. But it was an unbelievable experience, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of them.
Hi, my name is Braxton, and the fourth beatitude is Blessed are you, pilgrim, because you have discovered that the authentic Camino begins when it is completed. Our journey for the Camino didn't just kick off in Spain. It really started back here in Birmingham. We had meetings where we first met and got to know each other, while other meetings were about practical stuff, like packing lists and figuring out what to bring and what to leave. There were also monthly walks which got us physically prepared, but also helped us bond as a group. Since I barely knew anybody at the start, these moments were big for me. They got me mentally and physically prepped, helping me feel closer to everybody before we left for the trip. The Camino itself was something I was not expecting when you just think about it. Walking through the trails in Spain, sharing stories, and tackling challenges together show me how powerful a community can be. One idea that hit me hard was living with less, carrying only what you need and letting go of the extra baggage, not just stuff, but emotionally too. I'm still praying about this, wondering how I can keep the simplicity in my life now and focusing on what really matters, like faith and relationships. Coming back home was tough. After over a week with such an awesome group, I did not want to say goodbye. But the Camino's changed me. I've started new habits, like taking walks in nature to feel the same peace, or talking with friends about the ideas like simplicity that I picked up while in Spain. Looking back, I see God in those quiet moments, now on a walk or in conversations. The Camino taught me that the community can shape a journey, and I'm trying to bring that into everything that I do now.
Hello, my name is Mary Kelly, and the next beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, if your knapsack is emptying of things, and your heart does not know where to hang up so many feelings and emotions." In the months leading up to the Spain trip, we had many meetings. At each meeting, Taylor would stress how we needed to pack light. I took that pretty seriously, and tried to take only what I needed. When I arrived at St. Stephen's the day we were flying out to Spain, I immediately realized I had packed very light compared to everyone else, with a bag weighing in at 19 pounds. The maximum weight we could have was 40 pounds. Knowing that I had less than half of the maximum caused my mind to start running in circles about all the things I had left behind. Instead of being excited about the journey I was about to go on, I let my worries become the biggest focus. While at first it stressed me out that I had left so many things at home, over time it became the least of my worries. The Camino helped me form new friendships, many memories, and an experience of a lifetime. But I could have never gained the experience I had without the amazing group of people surrounding me the whole way through. Lucy let me borrow a hairbrush, Emma let me borrow a dress, and Jane let me borrow her makeup. While these are all simple objects, it showed me how much support and love there is in my group and how I could have never done the Camino alone. Our St. Stephen's community has always been a welcoming and caring group my whole life. And I feel extremely blessed to have been able to explore Spain with such a loving community around us. From Facebook prayers to borrowed dresses, I could feel the love every step of the way. And now have learned to really appreciate the community I'm a part of. Even though I didn't bring cute clothes or a hairbrush, I learned that with the help of others and determination, you can do anything you set your mind to. Overall, it isn't material things that matter, but the lessons you learn and the friendships you gain. Ever since then, I've learned to stop stressing the small things, take a breath, and to focus on the bigger picture.
My name is Belle, and the sixth beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, if you discover that one step back to help another is more valuable than 100 forward without seeing what is at your side." In Spain, we faced many challenges, but we faced them head on. We helped each other out when we needed it. We slowed down to change socks and bandage each other's feet when we got blisters and hot spots. There was a time someone left something back at the restaurant, and we all waited to help them get it back. Helping each other doesn't mean just physically. We also helped each other by cheering each other on, singing, and having great conversations with one another. One day, we split boys and girls, and us girls had a Hamilton concert, which made the walk less painful and lifted our spirits. We cheered and gave high fives when we reached the top of a big hill. I would not have been able to do it without the people by my side supporting me. We also made many friends along the way, too. For a few days, we would run into this group of people who had multiple people in wheelchairs. Watching their group having to physically carry their friend with all of their things on the trail has a testament to the faith we all call to live. When we made it to the cathedral, we watched our friends in the wheelchairs arrive to the courtyard with everyone cheering for them. It was a beautiful moment for everyone around and reminded me of the Bible story of the friends lowering the man to see Jesus. And that during hard times and times of struggle, the people around you are the best things to lean on.
My name is Bennett Haynes, and my beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, when you don't have the words to give thanks for everything that surprises you at every twist and turn of the way." Much of the Camino felt the same. Endless fields of wheat and grazing cattle, long stretches of silence broken only by our voices. But the end of the Camino was different. We walked deep within the city, surrounded by monolithic buildings, or words swallowed by the never-ceasing sound of bagpipes filling the square. I was lost for words. The cathedral rose before us, magnificent and impossibly grand. It struck me all at once. The countless others who had made this journey before me, their journeys each unique and shaping the cultures and traditions that have been formed both by the pilgrims and locals. Things like running up those stairs in Porto Marin, the pilgrim cakes we kept finding along our way, or the local vendors who set up shops along the path, selling fruit, ice cream, or cool stamps, but always with a story and a smile. The weight of its history, the meaning so many had found in the journey that we had just done, and the peace seeing this view had given them. Most of all, the realization that I was not alone in this experience. The Camino gave me the opportunity to slow down, something I don't really have time for in my regular life. Because of this experience I've had getting to slow down, I've tried to work in more time for myself to just breathe without the hustle and bustle of my everyday life.
My name is Andrew, and my beatitude is, "Blessed are you, pilgrim, if you search for the truth and make of the Camino a life, and of your life a way, in search of the one who is the way, the truth, and the life." Although I'm no longer walking the Camino, I still think about it often. I remember the times of fellowship when we talk while walking or listen to music on the speaker. I remember the mornings when we were too tired to say much and just let the trail noises speak for us. I remember the food that tasted even better after a long day and how I'd fall asleep instantly from exhaustion. In small ways, the Camino still encourages me. If I could do long walks for a week straight, I know I can do just about anything. Homework doesn't seem as overwhelming, and pushing myself harder in tennis comes easier when I think back to the strength it took and the growth I experienced in my faith. In bigger ways, the Camino shaped me spiritually. My faith grew during the walk, and it continues to grow today. I also realize how important fellowship is, whether that's sharing moments, encouraging one another, or finding ways to grow closer to God together. They all made the journey meaningful. Prayer was also a big part of the Camino. It carried us up long hills and gave us encouragement when we were tired. Now, prayer helps me with daily challenges and reminds me to reflect on what I've learned. The Camino still influences me today, not just as a memory, but as something that keeps shaping how I live, how I practice my faith, and how I experience life.
Another last minute sub. Lucy, who read this reflection, could not be here this morning, but she still wrote a reflection, so I'm going to read it. Just pretend I'm one of them. So my name is Taylor, but I'm reading this 9th Beatitude for Lucy. Blessed are you, pilgrim, if on the way you meet yourself and gift yourself with time, without rushing, so as not to disregard the image of your heart. While walking the Camino, I instinctively wanted to blaze through it. Back home, I'm so used to running on a tight schedule, skimming over all the little details of life. Alternatively, the Camino provided the opportunity to stop and smell the roses sometimes. We each had time to get to know Spain and each other, and then most importantly, ourselves. When we would come together and journal every night, we were given a few minutes of solace each time in a different location, with a different view on the trip as a whole. For a lot of us, the journaling was some of the most thinking that we'd ever do about ourselves and what we believe. As a senior in high school, getting ready for college, I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to learn so much about myself. I remember how it felt sitting in front of the cathedral at night in the cool breeze after enduring the heat of the Camino, taking that feeling with me in my life back home and remembering the peace I felt each night when meditating on the experience each day. Now give me a moment. I'm just going to go through the slides.
Hey y'all, my name's Clara, and I have the last beatitude, which is, blessed are you, pilgrim, if you discover that the Camino holds a lot of silence, and the silence of prayer, and the prayer of meeting with God who is waiting for you. There was a lot of learning that took place on the Camino. Although something I did not expect was how even the quietest moments brought the biggest lessons. The Camino is a spiritual journey. For me, it had many moments that were filled with laughter and jokes, but the moments where you pay attention to the sound of everyone walking, the birds, and the silent reassurance that God is with you in every step, those are the moments that stood out the most to me. I have a distinct memory of journal time and Compline at the end of a long walking day, where I truly felt God was present in that moment. As everyone there reflected on how good God's creation was, and that day as we all wrote what came to mind, I doodled. I remember sitting around a round table, staring out at the water and writing. To me, the most impactful time was after I wrote, when I would pray and doodle and look out and see what everyone silently reflecting. Due to that little amount of silence that happens in my life, and I'm sure many others as well, the Camino was a nice change. The silence and time set aside is what meant the most to me. Silence can be a difficult thing for some, including me, but the Camino taught me how beautiful things happen when you silently observe and take in God's beauty and how He speaks to you. Now I choose to go on long walks silently and just spend my time talking to the Lord, or turn down the music when I'm driving and truly listen to the silence in the Lord's presence. Taking this quiet time with the Lord is a feeling I have since incorporated in my life because of the impact it had on me during the Camino.
Chambers and Ruth, would y'all come stand up here? So we only had 10 Beatitudes, so not everybody had to speak, but I want you to see Chambers and Ruth as well. And let's give another round of applause to these teenagers. So we have about 15 or 20 minutes left for questions and comments. So, do you in the audience have questions that you would like to ask our teens or 3 of the 5 adults who went on the trip? If you do, you can raise your hand and one of our lovely teens will walk to you with a microphone.
I have a comment. I'm really inspired by all of you. I don't know. I think sometimes you wonder in the church, are we making a difference? Yeah, this right here is it. I didn't expect to feel the emotion, but listening to your reflections, these are so beautiful. I hope we're talking about how we're publishing them. But we might want to think about a way to do that. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your kindness to one another. Thank you to the leaders for leading. I'm looking over here at Keith. Thank you for helping with it goes all the way back to the auction. So this is like an effort that's been going on for a really long time, and the culmination of hearing you say this and speak to your experiences so vulnerably and honestly is really beautiful. And on a personal note, I have never gone on a walking pilgrimage, and yesterday I heard a podcast about it that's awesome on the Leader's Way. Brandon Nappy's podcast is great. And then hearing you all today. So I personally feel a bit of a nudge. I don't know what that will look like, but thank you. I'm really incredibly proud of each and every one of you and who you are. Thank you.
You have 4 of our adult chaperones. Well, Michael's sitting down, but it's okay. You walked a long way. Leslie Dunlap is the other chaperone who is not with us today because she and DR are already in Portugal because they are joining the other 17 who are going to walk the Camino again. So the first night we got to, after our first day of walking, we got to our little lodge, and Leslie and I were roommates, and I collapsed on the bed and said, I'm going home. And she said, I'm so excited. I get to do this again in September. And I said some things that I wouldn't want live streamed. And so she is not with us today in person, but maybe she's watching on the live stream, so hello. Humor was a big part of keeping us going. You may have heard that in some of these speeches, or maybe you heard it from your pilgrim when they got home. Like, the levity was what kept us moving, because the hills were bigger than we expected. Although Tom Robertshaw told us there were going to be some hills, and we needed to practice more. I didn't practice more, and we made it. What other questions and comments? All right, Chambers and Ruth, you see people raising their hands?
How many miles a day did you walk, and how many total?
Who wants to answer? Can me answer? You want to? Good.
Every day it was kind of different. I'd say most days we walked around 10. The first day was really hard because I think that was the day we walked the most. We started out with around like 13 miles, but
15.
Oh, 15. But during the middle of the Camino, it was a lot easier than the first and the end days because we walked around 8 miles, I think, the middle days.
We walked 72, 75 miles total, about 100 kilometers.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
What?
You're
and,
right.
And
Yeah.
to speak to this too, our God had given us like, oh, you're only going to do 15 miles this day and 17 miles the next day. But what they weren't calculating was from the Camino to the hotel, and from the hotel back to the Camino. It was just on the Camino that they were calculating. So we arrived in Puerto Moran, ran up these stairs, and they're like, okay, where's the hotel? And I'm like, oh, it's just 3 miles down that road. And it was, the looks they're giving me now is the same looks they're giving me there.
Because for days we didn't get in a vehicle. If we wanted to go somewhere, right? If we wanted to go shopping for clothes, we got to go walking to go try to find a store, thanks to Google and Apple, to try to find things. All right, Jess.
So my question's for the adults. What's the most surprising thing about the youth? Because I mean, I know the McGoverns and kind of, you know our children pretty well from Sunday school, but I mean, you've never spent 2 weeks with them doing something fairly strenuous. And
yes, and for those of you who don't know in the room, I do teach teenagers daily. I have seniors. We taught Sunday school to the senior group. They were surprising. And they were amazing. And I told everyone after we left the group, I told anyone who would listen, I don't know that I could do this with adults because their energy was amazing. I didn't want to be that 50-year-old complaining and, oh, this is so hard. So I put on my smile and I trucked with them, and they were really energizing and inspiring. They didn't complain. That was, they were just lovely. I mean, they were absolutely lovely, and they inspired me. I didn't want to dare complain. Maybe the last day when it was 90 degrees, we fell back a little bit, and there were some complaints. I wouldn't dare complain in front of the students because they were amazing. And their gift of community to one another, and the long talks that we had together on the Camino were just, because I know them only in one setting in the classroom, so just getting to know them through daily conversations and the real them, and that was really special for me.
I'll say I was surprised by how cohesive this group of 20 people was, these 20 teenagers. When we have groups of people, and you probably see it too, like people will splinter off, and they did break into little clumps and walk around, and yet they broke into different groups and spent time and got along really, really well, and were generous to one another. And I didn't see lots of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get out of here kind of feelings of, I just need to leave. They were very supportive of one another, and they brought a gift of music. Was it Wilson who brought the speaker? Somebody brought us an external speaker, and at first I was like, no, we will not pollute the air. It was the biggest gift. to have music and Hamilton, and they brought fun. It was so good.
Hey everybody, my name's Kevin Garrison, and this question is for the youth. I wonder, do any of you think you'll go back and take the pilgrimage again at some point in life, or perhaps a different type of pilgrimage in a different location in the world? And what kind of thoughts do you have about that, or have you made any plans or aspirations?
Okay, so I'm Watts, and it was my first time out of the country. So it was definitely like a very eye-opening experience, because you wouldn't think that much can possibly be different, but it was pretty different from America. But honestly, towards the end, I was kind of getting a little sick of it. But I would be lying if I didn't say that. But when I got home, it made me realize, like, oh shoot, I kind of missed that experience, and it really made me want to go like see other places that are super far away from home. Like go out to like different continents, and explore. So it definitely opened my eyes to travel more and maybe do another pilgrimage somewhere else for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the daily food and water situation was like? Did you have to carry food? You had to carry your water refills?
Let's talk about food.
Food and water, like what you carry.
Clara, you talk about what you ate.
Hey y'all, I'm Clara. Oh, hey. And I would say in the mornings, most of the hotels would have like breakfast provided, and it had like, kind of like normal hotel food for like Spain, like lots of coffee and like croissants. And then for lunch, like maybe every single day, we'd have bocadillos, which would just be bread and cheese basically, or bread, cheese, and like meat sandwiches. Those got a little old. And then we'd go somewhere new for dinner every night, and that was always a fun experience. So yeah.
What about snacks?
Oh, snacks? We would. Snacks? I did. I would eat like protein bars. Oh yeah, we'd split protein bars. So yeah.
We stopped for ice cream.
Oh, we did. There was a lot of ice cream, like multiple a day. Yep. Water? Oh, lots of water. You would refill it whenever you could. There was always like little spigots that, whatever, like some people wouldn't use them, but some would. And they were good. Yeah, lots of water.
Charlie, you want to talk about your muscles? Yeah. Or
We should just put the video up there.
I don't have the
Do we
video
have
there.
it?
I don't know.
Gosh, that was
I
so
never got
nice.
to see it.
Do you want to tell them what you tried?
I try to muscle.
Here, let's start with some-
I'm very picky and I don't eat a lot, and I try to muscle.
And what did someone do as you were trying to eat it? What did Ruth do? She videoed you.
Yeah, Ruth videoed me. Okay.
And she gagged a lot.
And the emergency pizza.
Yes.
Anybody else want to speak about food? Oh, Josh?
Kind of building on what you were saying about muscles, what was a moment that took you outside of your, like way outside of your comfort zone that you, I mean, maybe you regret eating a mussel, I don't know, but maybe you reflected on it and it was something good.
I didn't really like the mussel, but
So when Galicia is up in the coastal region, so we did have quite a bit of seafood, and I'm not a picky eater, but I do love my pizza, and I'm pretty traditional when it comes to pizza. And we had this lovely restaurant to ourselves at Finisterre, and we had octopus pizza. And I was a little hesitant, but I ate it. I thought it was delicious. I thought it really surprised me. It was really yummy. I don't know, did any of you like the octopus pizza? It was really good.
Other times out of your comfort zone, besides the whole trip. No air conditioning.
spiders.
So there were a couple of times when the environment wasn't what we expected it to be. When we got to Saria, we stayed the night in a hotel. It was a beautiful hotel. And some of us had air conditioning. Who had air conditioning?
The boys.
Well, one building had air conditioning, and then who had hot water? You and Leslie. You and Leslie. Yeah, we had cold water. So there were times when the environment was not as hospitable or homey as we expected. There were multiple hotels that, when we were in Santiago, the hotel where the young women and the McGoverns stayed had no air conditioning. And also, it was like 90 plus degrees. And they also didn't have staff at the desk in their hotel, so it was sometimes interesting who caused disturbances in the middle of the night. So I think that put some of our folks out of their comfort zone, because there was someone who was lost in the middle of the night and banging on doors and yelling. And one of our young people was like, I'm going to call 911. And we're like, I'm not sure 911 works here in the same way. So I think, and sleeping was sometimes uncomfortable or in a different place. Took a little time, so we were tired and we stayed up. We would do worship at what time, Taylor?
Around 9.
No. 11:30. 11:30 Eucharist. Have you ever had an 11:30 p.m. Eucharist? These folks have.
See if I have that photo up there.
Uh-huh.
We can talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few photos that we have up here. I'm trying to find a few, but the sun doesn't set in Spain where we were until 11, 12 at night. I mean, it's just really, really long days. There's a few times that we're like, okay, it's time to go to bed. It looks like it's 7 p.m. outside, but it's actually 9, 10 o'clock at night. And so long, long days. And I'll say environments, different hiccups, just as the leader of this, holding it together just to lead the group, but then, stretching that comfort zone of what's the threshold, what's the, and just not freaking out when it does.
You did an amazing job.
Thank you. Turn my mic off and mute.
Hi, everybody. You guys did a great job. I'm just curious about the topography and like the names of the cities that you started in and then where you ended. And then you also mentioned a cathedral. Is that like where you end up? Like, I would love just to hear more about the trail itself. Sam had a question about bones. Like, how did this trail come about? Was there a saint who was carrying bones?
So my name is Bennett Haynes, and to answer your question about the cathedral is the main place that you stop. It is the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, and the bones are the bones of St. James, which were found either in the city or nearby, and they are placed in the cathedral in a box that is above the pulpit and behind the actual altar. So that's where that comes from. The city we started in was called Saria. It is, I think, 102 kilometers, something like that, from the end. And we ended in Santiago because that is the cathedral. But we did travel to Finisterre one day, which is it's called Finisterre because it's the end. It is where the sea is. And that's one end to it. So we technically went to both, if that answers your question.
I can add something, and my biblical historian believes that I am not correct. But when Jesus told the disciples to go to the ends of the world and proclaim my word, James went to the edge of Spain and looked out at the ocean and said, I have done as he has asked me. Then he turned and came back to prophesy through and into the region, and eventually he was murdered. And when he was murdered, his followers broke all of his remains up, and there are now multiple ways. That's why it's called the French way. So it starts in the Alps, actually, at the French Alps, and ends at where he went and thought this was the end of the earth. Now I will go back and spread Jesus' word. Did I have that right? It works.
Yeah. I was going to say, yes. Saria, we went to Puerto Moran. These are all just towns that are along the way leading to Santiago. But we actually bused to Finisterre, even though that is another pilgrimage that you can take and do more walking if you like. We didn't have the time, so we just bused out to Finisterre. But we weren't really walking toward or near the ocean. So the photos with oceans in them, or we just went for a day visit.
I have to say it was very inspiring watching you guys, and as I was struggling away in the hospital in the operating room, it was fun to watch y'all on Life 360 and see exactly where in the world you guys were. And so I have to say that was fun tracking you guys through that time. Were there ever any times that either it was difficult finding your way, or either you were lost or disoriented on the trail, or was it fairly clear the route that you were taking? Or were there times that you got misplaced or lost?
I'm Andrew Crane. We didn't really get lost because there's like these blocks and they're somewhere around this tall, and they're like stone, and they have a shell for the Camino symbol and then an arrow, and you basically like follow where they point you, and so that's just the trail. But then sometimes there would be like a detour route for like horses or something, and so you have to follow like there was some word, like the specific, the easy, historic way, or like the easy way. And so we didn't really get lost on the trail.
We got lost. Sorry, let me turn this around. We got lost trying to find our hotels at the end of the day. I mean, like, is it this one or is it that one? But never drastically, miles out of the way. And that's because it's been well maintained. And yeah, this is a photo of, there's just hundreds of arrows that we follow along the way.
Yeah, that is a confusing picture because you do not know which way to go, do you? This way, that way, that way. So I'll end with this. When you go on the Camino, one of the things said is that your Camino begins and it doesn't stop. I heard at least one person say that they think about their journey a lot now. So the Camino continues. Camino means way, the truth, and the life. And so this is only the beginning of your trip. And for our 19 friends who will depart and start their Camino adventure in a couple of days, it's just the beginning of their trip on the way. So thank you for praying for us along our way. Thank you, Taylor. You did a great job with this presentation. Thank all of these teenagers who worked really hard working their comments in when they have other demanding things in school too. So thank all of you, and thanks for your prayers. God bless.